Welcome to Deals with Heels, where female entrepreneurs thrive. I'm Debra, your host. Welcome to the show. Welcome back. I'm so excited about this week. We're going to talk about a topic that some of you may not even be familiar with, but it's really important. And I think it's lacking a lot in society these days. And you guys have heard me on that soapbox too many times, so I'm not going to go there. But let's get right into our guest. Kelly is a marketing strategist, author coach, and a podcast host of Beyond the Bestseller. With expertise in helping professionals and entrepreneurs turn their ideas into impactful books, Kelly empowers her clients to write, publish, and market their work to build their brands and grow their businesses. Passionate about leadership, thought leadership, and inspiring women to share their stories, Kelly provides actionable strategies to help authors elevate their influence and achieve their goals. Please welcome Kelly to Deals with Heels. Yay!
Thank you, Deborah. That was a great introduction.
Well, very well deserved too. You've done so many wonderful things. And I know so many people that have either self-published a book or written a book or want to write a book or are talking about it or even down the path part way and think they've gone the wrong way. You hear a lot of that too. So
Mm.
I'm excited to talk about it. But before we start, I want to talk about you and how you got to where you are, a little bit about your entrepreneurial journey. Not too much, just because all the other stuff's so good.
Yeah. Well, I love the introduction. I've become the thought leader of thought leaders. And I think, I think it's such an ironic place for me to be because I spent most of my career, 20 years of my career, as what I call the person behind the person. So I was the person supporting another CEO, helping them accomplish their goals, right? Their dream for their company. I never thought anything of it. That was just the role that I played. I was the person they could go to get things done. And last year, I was laid off. I lost my job. And I had a decision to make at that point. I had been thinking about starting a business. I'd been dreaming about it, but I never would have taken that leap until I kind of got shoved off of the ledge. So I had that decision. It was either continue, looking for jobs and continue being the person behind the person in that role that I was good at, or start the company that I have been dreaming about. And it was like, it's now or never. Do it or stop thinking about it, right? So I finally
Mm-hmm.
decided to do that. And when I decided to kind of open my doors of my business, I thought about what I had done well in my career and the services that I could provide other business owners based on my skills and my experience. And so I decided to the way that I decided to put myself out there was leaning into those thought leadership marketing tactics that I had used for my bosses and helping my bosses, the two men that I had worked for in my career, helping establish them as thought leaders in their space and helping them grow their businesses to the first one helped grow from 2 million to 6 million. And then the second one from around 4 or 5 million to 12 million. So the big kind of tactic that we had taken was thought leadership marketing, helping those CEOs, those business owners, become known in their space as the thought leader. So when I decided to start my business, things grew really quickly, and I think that was because I really leaned into my own thought leadership, my own value that I was bringing the world. So that's kind of the quick version of, how I got to where I am now, which is now running a business that is, I would say, pretty successful. It's been a quick, less than a year at this point, but I've got 16 clients. I've got a team behind me now, and was able
Podcast.
to grow that.
To
And
top
I've
of
got a
this, I
podcast. Yes.
mean, you are crushing it, girl. Come on, you're crushing it. And I love the thought leader to the thought leader. Tell me you're a nerd without telling me you're a nerd,
Yeah.
right? I'm so nerdy, but I hide it well behind being cute. And if I didn't want to look cute, I straight up would have unmatching wrinkle clothes and a pocket protector. So I totally feel that. And I think, a lot of women get kind of stuck in that almost work wife role. I can't remember that
Mm.
comedian's name, but she was talking about Do you know how successful I would be if I had a wife? Like if I had a wife, women make everything so much better. Women help you do this. They help. If I had a wife and then I was, the algorithm, once you watch one thing, it starts filling you in. But I'm a
Right.
nerd. So I started getting all these studies sent to me, and it was about happiness, the happiness scale. And it talked about the least happy group of people, demographic, are married women. And seriously, the most happy are married men, and the most successful out of the group, out of the two, unmarried women, much more successful, much happier. And the most successful men are the married men, and they're the happiest. So there's a disbalance there, right?
Interesting.
So yeah, I was
Yeah.
all down that rabbit hole. And
I have to tell you a story along those lines because one of the things a few weeks ago I decided I needed on my team was an executive assistant because I had just gotten to this point where it was like I have so many emails all the time and all this stuff I have to do, right? And I am, full disclosure, I am a married woman, right? But I needed an executive assistant who could help me with all the scheduling and not just in work, but in my personal life. So I hired somebody, and I have a list of appointments I need her to make for me, for my kids, for my house, for my, whatever. And my husband says to me all the time, he's like, it's so weird that you do that. It's so weird that you have her schedule these appointments for you. And last week he took one of our boys to an appointment, and the result of that appointment was, oh, he needs physical therapy 2 times a week for the next month, right? My husband says to me, he needs these appointments, right? And my husband walks away. And I was like, that is why I need an executive assistant, because it's basically like my wife. I don't have a wife who I can say, make these appointments for me, right? Like he needs
right.
these appointments, schedule them. So I thought that was the funniest thing because I was like, so he thinks it's weird that I have that. And yet women need support just like men need support. It's just that we're often the support person, right? Like we're
Right.
often filling that role at home and at work. And yeah, I totally understand that. Not that I mean, I'm plenty happy being married, but like I get that, like why
Right.
so much falls on us, and we play that support role, and it's okay to hire people or delegate things, and we can do that just like men can do that.
Absolutely. And I mean, I am love being in a relationship. I just think systemically, those are big numbers, you guys, big groups, right? And probably not winning by a large amount either, but still, it just is. It's a systemic thing. It's not individuals. Plenty of married people are happy, and I'm not trying to suggest otherwise for sure. But that's it. Like you're like, baby, this is our personal assistant. They're making the appointments that you hand to me.
Yeah, yeah.
This is
I know. I was like,
our assistant.
I just thought that was so ironic because he kept saying to me, "That's so weird that you do that you have her schedule things for you, And then I was like, But then when you need something scheduled, who do you send it to? You send it to me, and now I delegate it.
You have a work wife. I love
Yeah,
it. I
yeah,
love it. It's, changes. It's finding our own way, right? It's finding our own way.
yeah, yeah. And that's okay. Yeah, and you mentioned my podcast, so I do have a podcast where I feature female authors of nonfiction books. And I've had men say to me like, "So I can't be on your podcast?" And I'm like, "No, because that's just something I'm very passionate about is helping support women in the workplace and women professionals." And so that was something, a conscious choice that I wanted to highlight women who have written books. Many of them are so I say nonfiction, many of them are professional in nature, right? And to me, I wanted to really help elevate women who are thought leaders, because there are women out there, a lot of us that are thought leaders in our own spaces, but we often get overshadowed by men in the workplace or by men who just present themselves differently, right? And they have a different kind of presence. And so people see them as the experts, and women often just are more subtle in the way that they present themselves. So my
And I will
podcast is
tell
all
you,
about,
that is a systemic issue. It's conditioning, it's epigenetics, even. Because think about it, there are women are lost to history. I read a statistic that 0.5%, 0.5% of history deals with women and their accomplishments. In fact, women weren't allowed to legally own a patent, weren't allowed to legally open a bank account. You couldn't even own a business or get a business loan. You could not get a business loan until I was in college. I was in
Yeah. Isn't
college
that
before a woman
insane?
who was maybe a doctor could open a doctor's office, but she couldn't get a loan for that doctor's office without a man co-signing for her. So it's systemic, and people, we don't realize that we're doing it. The men don't realize they're doing it. It's just the way it's always been and what feels comfortable. And so changing, right? I mean, it's happening and it's good. I only have female guests as well. They're all entrepreneurs of a wide variety. And I have men who want to be on my podcast sometimes. And I'm like, I'm sorry, I only have women. But you know what? There are literally thousands and thousands of podcasts that'll
Right.
have men.
Right.
So go, go, go. You go do it, man. Right?
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
they don't need as much help getting the publicity as women do, in my opinion. And I'm so passionate about helping people find their voice. We are so aligned. I love it.
Yeah. I love it.
Well, let's talk for a minute about thought leadership, because I know I have a lot of small business owners, and that sounds like some real nerdy stuff to them that they don't understand. So break it down for us. It's important for everyone. It is, if you're the smarts, then you have thought leadership in your company. You just don't realize what that is and how to harness it.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I've had people ask me like, what is a thought leader? And I have a hard time describing it because to me, it's just like, it's just what it is. Right. But it's that person who has some sort of knowledge to share with the world. And I think, again, going back to kind of women, we take for granted, I mean, men and women, but I think women being often in these support roles, we forget how much experience we have, how much knowledge we have that we can share with the world. And so going back again to my story about being the person behind the person, I was always, I was helping them accomplish their goals, and I always thought they were the visionary. They were the person who who knew everything, right? Like they had all the answers. And I was not the person who was able to, I wasn't the thought leader. I wasn't the visionary. That was what I had in my mind, right, about myself. But then when I started my business and I started helping people get speaking events, helping people write their book, I realized that my experience was just, it was just different, but I had this knowledge and experience to share with the world. So when I started leaning into that and started producing content around that and putting out there that I could help people with these areas, I realized how much knowledge and experience I had to share, and just how much that was helping people. So I think that, again, we often take for granted our own skills, experience, the things that we can share with the world. But when we start sharing our story, it resonates with other people. That being the person behind the person, like I say that when I tell women that, so many women have been like, oh my gosh, that is exactly like my experience. That is exactly how I have, that's how I have been in my career. And I just realized how much I'm helping other women step out of that kind of behind the shadow and out into the spotlight. And, so I think that there are so many women out there that have a story and experience to share. And I think that like understanding that about yourself and learning what makes you unique and that value that you bring the world, once we recognize that, there is so much potential there that we can share.
It is fantastic. I mean, it's true about multiple things, not just your business. And a thought leader, you may be a roofer. You may have a roofing company that you've had for 20 years, and you're a thought leader in that industry. You have experience and opinions and knowledge that someone else that's just starting out doesn't have. You're a thought leader for that. What she helps you do is market that, build it, show it to everybody. So you hear me sometimes talk about expert authority. That's what she's talking about. Are you the expert? Are you the person of authority in that? Are you the thought? I like thought leader so much better, though. I haven't heard that term in a long time, and I really like it a lot. And when you're an author, that's it. When you're a podcast guest, I talk to a lot of people who want to find out how to be a podcast guest, and they've got a great business and they talk about all of their business. And you have to take that step back and say, but who am I and what do I bring? And find that thought leadership within yourself. And so, because I love what you're doing and I love your book and all the things, but I want you. I can't, your book doesn't do anything. If it comes on the show, it just sits there and doesn't do anything, right? So that it's the personal part of it, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And the story behind it. So again, told you kind of my story and how I got to where I am, and how, basically that 20 years of experience that I had, how that then lent itself to where I ended up next. And I think, if somebody is wanting to write a book and put a book out there, it's not just about having that book. Or I'm sure you've experienced this, Deborah. You have people on your podcast who it's like, I know you have something to share. There's stories there, but as a podcast host, you're digging those stories out and trying to get them to get their message out there, right? But when we really tap into what that message is, those stories are what really help people connect with you, connect with maybe this, how you're able to help them, what those services are that you provide, and how you can best help them. It's really important to understand. I call it your authority X factor. What makes you different and what makes you stand out? Actually, when I speak to groups of people, I help them think through their authority X factor, and that is the thing that people should lead with. When, like you said, you have this book, that you can share with the world. Great, but why would somebody want to read that book, or how would that book help them? The stories that you share when you're on a podcast, speaking on stage, writing articles, whatever, those things are what help people connect with you and want to learn more and want to learn from you. So those things are really important for us to understand about ourselves and how we can share that story with the world and get them to connect with us.
And I think it's the future. Let's face it, there's so much AI content, and being able to distinguish yourself from something that was AI produced, and there is no better way than for it coming from you and your life experiences. Because in AI, I read an example, and it was where for Google or any search engine, when you search for something, it gives you all 150,000 options of the answer for what you searched for. And it may give you a summary, but here is all of it. And you can link, and here's the part in the summary you can link to, so you can read it and decide for yourself. But so many people now are skipping that part, and they're just asking Chat GPT. And if you get a bunch of big AI computers together, eventually they'll come to consensus on the answer. And now you've lost all of the human interpretation of what the answer is. Computers. So lots of people just go to Chat GPT. And that's why when you read it and it'll say, sometimes Claude is wrong, or right, because it's determining that. And as we move further and further away from that authenticity and that curiosity and that forming that uniquely human element, then what's going to happen? That is a scary kind of place that we're really approaching. And so differentiating between that solid one that everyone agrees to and finding that creativity and that art and opinion. It's one thing for AI to scan your website and create content, or create content, a post based on an episode of content. It's an entirely another thing for you to tell the story of how it felt when you did it. And how you made it through. And you guys have heard me tell my story, starting over in my fees after raising 5 kids, losing everything, having nothing. AI can't duplicate the chill that I get when I tell that story again, or that you guys get when you feel it because you've lived something similar. That cannot be duplicated. So what Kelly's talking about is so important for you. And it doesn't matter if it's your mom, a student, if you're a bus driver, it doesn't matter what you are. Your unique content is important. It's more important than you realize. So keep doing it. But man, scary stuff when you think about accepting just the status quo and accepting that that's the right answer without thought.
Yeah.
It's such a horrible place that we're in because of Rockefeller, y'all. And we'll say it again, because he said, we want workers, not thinkers. Here we are with a bunch of people, generations of people that really aren't capable of critical thought unless they were built that way, and annoyed people with all of their questions like us.
Yeah. But I love that, just that thought behind, not keeping the status quo, that the status quo for me would have been to just keep working for somebody else, right? And that would have been fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But
You were successful. You were really, really good at it, but
I,
you had
yeah,
something to
but
say and you could
I
feel it.
had, yeah, I had this dream of something else, of some other world where, I didn't have to request time off from somebody else. And I didn't have to spend days off answering questions that were still coming in chat because people didn't respect my time off. I mean, I had great job, so I can't complain. But I noticed the difference when I started my own business, how much more just free I felt, that, I wasn't answering to somebody else. I had one of my bosses used to call me or message me every day around 5 o'clock in the afternoon saying, "Hey, do you have a minute?" A minute typically turned into an hour, right? And I would just dread it because I would go, I have other things I want to be doing. I want to be done with my day and I want to move, right? But I was working for somebody else and I didn't have that control. I could set boundaries and whatever, but
We all
just
know no one's going to piss their boss off. They want the job. It's just that I'm going to talk to him. It's not going to be the end of the world. But boy, that line of respect. There was a big
yeah,
legal case recently where they have to honor your time. They can't require you to check email after hours when you're not there. It went all the way to the Supreme Court, I think,
yeah,
where they set that. Y'all
yeah,
look that up. Don't be trusting me on
yeah,
that. I mean, I did read that fairly recently
yeah.
because it's a shitty thing to have to continually be tied to somebody. And so do you find yourself with some unrealistic expectations, even for yourself, because you were so used to, for example, I've got to be there by this time. I always have to beat him there. I have to, right?
Yeah. I will say now, as I'm building my company, so I now have 4 full-time employees and 7 part-time employees, and I am very conscious of people's time. I have people that are in the US, Canada, and the Philippines. So our time zones are different. And I don't want people to feel like if I message them, they have to respond immediately. So I am conscious about, building it, like it's an intentional thing. I'm building
Mm-hmm.
a culture of asynchronous communication. So I might message somebody on a Sunday, but the expectation is typically, for everyone. I harp on this all the time. I might be messaging you on a Sunday when I'm working because I might be catching up on the weekend, right? But my expectation is that you respond to me when you're working. And I know that's easy for people to say, and I've heard other business owners say, "Oh, I had to stop doing that because I was setting this expectation that people have to work all the time." That expectation isn't coming from you sending a message on a Sunday. It's from the way that you're communicating with people all the time. Like, so because I do tend to work a lot, right? Like,
And so do I.
I'm
And
building a
it's kind
business
of by
and
example, too. They look at
yeah,
you and they think, because as an employee, you're like, lots of times, if you're an ambitious employee, you're like, okay, well, he's there working. Maybe I should be working. What's he doing there? Especially if you're his executive assistant, that had to have been I bet it's relieving. I bet it's relieving. So
yeah,
that's
yeah. I
fantastic.
mean, being able to set your own schedule and being able to, basically like, I don't have to answer to anyone else, right? That's
Mm-hmm.
now it's the beauty of having your own business. But the reality is, when you're a business owner, you're actually answering to all of your people all the time. Because if somebody has a question on the team at 10 o'clock at night, if I'm available, I'm gonna answer them, right? I just am. But I also I don't want to set people up for them being unhappy because they feel like they have to be on all the time. Like, that's not realistic for
No, no.
your
Mine is
team.
really unrealistic expectations of myself. I tend to cut everybody else a lot of slack, and then I'm really hard on myself.
Yeah.
But I'm getting better. I've been practicing. I'm getting better at it. So, well, I want to talk about, I'm sure all my authors out there and all my people that are wanting to write a book or are in the process of it have lots of questions. And I think the biggest one for me, I'm not writing a book right now. I'm in the middle of something else that's really big, and is the whole thing of self-publishing versus traditional publishing, and then the whole middle vanity publishing that people need to stay away from, but seems like it's a good deal. And can you still have a successful book being self-published? Or do you need to hold out and try to find that regular traditional publisher that's going to help you promote and get you into more stores?
So it really depends on what your goals are and what's important to you. So I again, full disclosure, my background in publishing, I worked in publishing for 10 years, and it was what people call vanity press, like a vanity publishing company. Now, when I started there in 2007, there was way more stigma around that than there is now, because the world has changed so much. People back then would call it vanity publishing, and it was very criticized. Now, the majority of people I talk to are self-publishing their books because it's very easy to do. You can go directly through Amazon or Ingram Spark. You can just have more control. I mean, there's so many benefits to self-publishing. So I never steer anyone away from that. However, if it's really important to you to get to publish traditionally, then pursue that. I mean, absolutely. If that is something that you're just like, I don't feel legitimate unless it's published traditionally, or in some cases, some of the people that I work with, they want that credibility behind their book, depending on the topic of the book. Or I think it's okay to self-publish, and it's okay to pursue a traditional publishing route if that's what you want to do.
How long should you
You have
give
to
that
know,
traditional route, right?
I was
Before
going to
you
say,
give up?
you have to know going into it that even if you get picked up, it might be 2 years from now before your book is going to get published too. So what's the priority for you? Is it having that traditional publisher name behind your book, or is it getting the book out there, getting your message out there? In most cases, people don't care anymore how you published your book, only in certain situations. And again, like it really is a matter of what's the most important thing to you, and what's the right path for you. Hybrid publishers also, so you can pay somebody to get your book out there, and they help with a lot of the stuff behind the publishing process. So there's just different routes that you can take. But ultimately, if you have the budget for hybrid, that's great. You can pay a little bit more and have some of the things handled for you. Or if you have a way of getting your covered, so some of the things I recommend for anyone publishing a book is having your book professionally edited, having a professional cover design done, and having the interior formatted. So those are things that if you don't do it, it's going to make your book stick out as self-published in the bad sense of the term.
Right.
So those are things that you want to make sure that even if you self-publish, you're investing in the things that are the most important for making your book look the best that it can.
And always, if you know you're not going to be good at formatting, then don't attempt it, because you're
Yeah.
there to be
No, don't do it
creative and
yourself.
get your message out. Don't be
Yeah.
so stuck on, I want to save money and I'm going to do it this way, because it's going to be, if you're forcing it, your mindset's wrong. It needs to be like, this is flowing the way it's supposed to flow. And then you can feel good about it. But I love that. So it doesn't affect the thought leadership. Like, people aren't saying, well, she published that herself, so that doesn't mean she knows what she's talking about, because you guys, with the regular publishing too. There's never a guarantee that what they're saying is accurate or any of those things. It's still subjective, correct? So you're not seeing a big difference unless it's the poor quality self-publishing.
Right. So yeah, the quality is the most important factor. Again, if you can't even think of a solid example of why traditional would be better, I have some clients have published traditionally, and some of my clients have just done it themselves. And really, it's just a matter of like how soon they want that book available. If they have a speaking event in January, they want to make sure they have the book in hand when they go out to the event. I mean, those kinds of things are important. And the legitimacy of having a traditional publisher, I understand why that's important for some people, but also you have to know like that they're not marketing your book. So even if you go the traditional publishing route, you still have to do the marketing yourself. There's still a lot that it falls on you as the author, no matter which route you go with the publishing part of it.
I think that's what people think too, that if I get published from a big publishing house, then they're going to promote it. I'm going to be out there and that's going to get it read more. And that's a fallacy. It's still marketing, and there are people to hire to help you.
Yes, absolutely.
So, okay, fantastic. And we're just right at our time, but I wanted to have a chance to talk about your clients too. Tell me what does your typical client look like? Like, who is it typically?
Yeah. So some of the things that we do is, I mentioned the thought leadership marketing. We specifically help people who are usually business owners who want to get on stage. They want to get out and speak to people. They may or may not want to have a book in hand, or maybe they have a book already, but so we can handle the ghostwriting for them. We help them get podcast interviews, and we help with the executive LinkedIn management. So helping with the LinkedIn posts and communication on LinkedIn. And so we support those folks who are business owners. They know that if they go out and speak, it ends up resulting in getting clients. So they know the value of, when I get on stage, people want to talk to me, they want to connect with me, and they want to sign up for whatever I'm offering, right? So most of our clients are kind of that type of person. They are the owner of a business, they are a thought leader, they grew a business, they are specialized in a certain area, and they want to get their message out there.
So do you also help them with that personal brand? You're not just doing promotional stuff. You're doing some branding stuff, helping them build their actual thought leadership. That's in addition to their obvious knowledge and things
Yeah.
too, correct?
Yeah. So some of our clients come to us with, I know exactly what I would speak about, right? I have this topic that I talk about all the time, and some of them come to us and go, I don't really know, but here's, kind of some of my skills and experience, whatever. And we will help them get clarity around, what would that topic look like that you would speak about? And then we help them develop that LinkedIn content around that. And then if we're getting them podcast interviews, we help them steer them towards, what are those topics you want to be talking about on a podcast that helps you refine your message and helps you, we can pull clips of that for your LinkedIn. But all of that, we help them kind of get more specific about, you can talk about anything, right? But like, let's get clear about what we want to be talking about to help build that thought leadership platform, so people start to know you as the expert in that topic.
And you do ghostwriting. So people that sometimes it's just somebody that has an idea for a book and they aren't sure kind of what to do next. It sounds like you coach them through that, and also have people that on staff that help ghostwrite. So that's fantastic too.
Yeah. Yeah. So I have a writer on staff. And then what we do is we meet with the person on a regular basis. Depends, the schedule depends on the person and the kind of what works for them. But typically, like weekly, we will meet and we will basically interview them through the chapter. So we'll put together the whole outline of the chapter, but then we'll ask those questions to get that information out of their head. Because usually we had, like, business owners, they have it all in their head. And sometimes they just need somebody to ask them the right questions, just get it out, right?
Right.
In some sort of organized fashion.
And not everybody was great in English or writing or any of those things. And so they feel like they have something to say, but when they start, it's difficult, right? Mm-hmm. It's not easy to sit and write down even your own thoughts when you haven't done it before. It can be very intimidating. So that is so helpful. I know that there are listeners out there that are going to be interested in looking at your services and hiring you. What is the best way for them to get in touch with you and contact you and see more about your services?
Yeah. So 2milehighmarketing.com is my business. And on that website, we have a quiz that you can take, which is the Thought Leader Scorecard. So if you're thinking, maybe I'm a thought leader, maybe I want to develop some thought leadership materials, I want to maybe kind of establish my platform, that quiz will help you see kind of where you fall as a thought leader, and some of the things, the areas where you could focus to improve if you want to kind of build up your thought leadership platform. So that would be a great way to get something of value for yourself that will help you on your journey. And then also, you can find out more about us on that website as well. And then my podcast is Beyond the Bestseller. Again, you can find that on anywhere you listen to podcasts. If you're interested in learning more from other women who have books to share with the world, I focus every episode. We start talking about the book and kind of lean into their message and find out more about that from there.
What a great way to stimulate your own creativity and how somebody else came to their story and it came about and all of that. I love that so much. I will link to all of those things in the show notes, of course, and you can link to my free ebook, 5 Steps to Having a Mindset for Success, there as well. Please share, like, download our podcast, tell your friends, leave us a review if you enjoyed the show as much as I've enjoyed having Kelly on as a guest. So until next week, thank you, Kelly, for coming out. And we'll see you next time.
Thanks, Debra.